Pramoto amanade shema munyina ha eba Afia Brempomaa Kasiepo Ctv sobra so se na awie nsemo a yensa ka no yede esomowo sima aduasa ene nsam no yenhwene a edi mu akotene ebe Justice wabodi say Supreme Court wonkoye ne judge Justice Afia ede atu justice omanyimu yama ya no emene ankyerɛkyerɛ anansa adesua a ɛwɔ mmara kwan mmara fa so yɛ adwuma ɛwɔ man yi ho na aboa ma wɔnom a wɔn kɔɔdɔ so ɔbɛyɛ alɔyafoɔ ɛne agyaagyefoɔ daakye na hunu kwan a ɔman yi mmara fa so ɛyɛ adwuma. Mampanyini dada John Dramani Mahama wotu Frankama NDC amanyoko ne kyerɛ sɛ naban soso ketasohye pre dwrim ɛne kankan so uni ɛmfa ho ne tipen a wono ne bo ene yonko a wono ne bo se wodo ho hwehwe ketasehye mu a na ban beyiwu ama. United Nations said they are about to just say Afia Brempomaa Hineh and Afia atoye Afia Brempomaa no ensuyire amane muso ama nipa bebre ena won ho akyere won. Therefore, we can't smile with a more than a magic bread. Edison was Ctv Kasiepo. I will say TV so Kasiepo a chair go Casafona would want so. Where fear more Oba Fontaine video and swam this more my CTV GH social media handles. I would want about my CTV GH Kasiepo Pieba when you Bakayato Amanon Fair for about one when you be a share and every more king kind for a me. Afia Brempomaa Hineh medame ho abansam no ha mesanem. Supreme Court judge as say waboni den a friend was say nyame ya adom na mpanyifo eya amamre ne amane agine tumu a womra mehwe Supreme Court so justice her leadership Justice Afia Rosetta what they are two justice women mo disuafo bebre no a na won kondo se obe buana wasua kwan amra fa so ye adwuma nimfo wo mai Ghana mu enti ewose wo me ye maya no ebine mu na enkyerɛkyerɛ ye de ema se de be ya daache bi empo no se eye obi akoma so se omra emeye mranim ni a wo hunu kwan a obefa so ansa.
Of the propositions, what is your position on general legal education reform in our country?
Honorable Chair, I have not really been involved in the legal education, but I have had I have heard certain things being said. I would think that as a country, it is important that as much as possible we expose a lot of people to legal education because we are a growing democracy. It is important that we make it legal education available to as many people as possible. And we should aim at the best practices. So it would, in order to know or to speak on the reforms, I would have to then specify what the shortcomings are and what amounts to best practices. I think that is something that I may be unable to do sitting here, but the experts in the area, academic area, would be the best placed to look at the two and choose the best option for legal education in this country. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Vetting committee asatena na mo na opanyini ba ko so waboni din say agine tumu a womra meye Supreme Court judge Professor Brempomaa na wono ne die mu no nea ebeto dwane so manfo bi no mu kire se wo mane kwan na obeye Supreme Court judge ne trim beye din pa hwe ya wo mai kra na obechi ni padodo no fa egum no kire so de bi entesa.
I think I vehemently reject that view, that if I get to the Supreme Court, I'll be a danger to anything that you're talking about. As I said, I have clearly explained the subject matter that I wrote about. I have indicated the caveats that we put in it, in the paper. I have clearly indicated that if you approve me as a justice of the Supreme Court, my responsibility is to apply the laws of Ghana. And I clearly indicated to you what the law of Ghana is, or once the bill is ascended, what the law of Ghana will be. The responsibility of a judge is to apply the law, not to espouse any views through their judgment. That to me will be wrong, will be totally wrong use of the judicial role. So I think that is where I will stop.
Yen free vetting committees and semwena yen fire nintremo NDC amanyokono emu Franke Crawford ema NDC amanyokono mampanyida da John Dramani Muhammad atu dwasa na ban a ebe ombesoso ketas wona aso ye na damfo na wodo ho hyehye ketasehye project ne kankan mu a wode mre se fata ebedi wam na ye suade ama foforo.
These politicians are friends. Yes, we have friends across the political divide. And I have many friends. I've been in politics from 1996 when I stood for my first parliamentary election. I met many colleagues in parliament. But the call to root out corruption and to punish people who have misappropriated public funds is a call from the soul of the nation. It is a call from the soul of the nation that for once we must put our foot down, because the youth are crying for opportunities, and the youth are losing faith in our democracy, and the youth are tired of being unemployed and hungry when they can see that the public resource that belongs to all of us is being corralled and squandered by a few people. And so if we don't do that, a time will come when some things will happen. There are two things that can happen. If people lose faith in our democracy, and that faith is going down, the last survey, it said it had gone from 74% to 50% of young people believe in our democracy. And so their faith in our democracy is going down. And as you continue to subject them to 000, 010, 100, 001, a time comes when they have no interest in the survival of the state or in the survival of our democracy. And in West Africa, normally what would happen is that a coup d'etat will take place. But in East Africa, civil unrest will take place, like we saw recently in Kenya. And so it is a cry from the people themselves that the political elite must get it right. This is our last chance at saving our democracy. And it cannot be business as usual. And that's why I've said that the greatest fight against corruption is not prosecuting your political opponents. It is also dealing with your own people when they indulge in the same thing. And so I've said it several times that yes, we'll hold the government that is going out accountable for the things that have happened. We'll investigate them. We have a constitution, we'll go by the rule of law, prosecutions will take place, judgment will be given. And so that will do. But while you're doing that, if your people start indulging in the same thing, you must have the courage to punish them. And that's why I've said, if people want to come into government and make money, then we can help you. You go into the private sector, we'll help you set up a cassava processing plant, go and process cassava, employ young people. Don't come and take public office. Once you take public office, you must be prepared to be held to account. And so, yes, We might be friends. Sometimes it's painful. And I have an example. Abuga Pele is my friend. The National Youth Authority, himself and others were prosecuted during my tenure. I was not happy to do it, but I mean, one has got to do what he's got to do. And so, yes, we'll pursue corrupt officials and we'll deal with them. And when we're dealing with them, if somebody does the same in our administration, that person will also be dealt with. So I've sounded a warning. Everybody wants to be a minister, a CEO in John Mahabe's administration. If the Office of Special Prosecutor comes after you, you are on your own. I'm not a clearing agent. I will not clear you.
Na yeguswa wo NDC amanyoko no emumampanyi John Dramani Mahama obontoa ewo from mantam no mu asromanfo ya ewo mantam no mu se wonfa enkunumdi abotire no wonfa enso no mfiempino ene aduonu nan no emu na honom ene ode akwakoto dwo se NPP amanyoko no ne na montre so kasa se mpuntuo ya NDC amanyoko aye ewo from mantam no enkani kwan kra se enkamanyoko no enya nipa ba kokora ma ne to abama wonum emfiempino ene aduonu nan abato no emunanso opanyine agebre NPP amanyoko no anu se eyetro ene hurudu rada sam en wo kan akira manfo sanse framantam fo nimpuntu a NDC amanyoko baye waye ama mantam no emu.
The description of the Volta region as the World Bank of the NDC. It is not because of the nominal votes that we get in the region. Because if you take just the nominal votes we get, then it is not the biggest that we get. But it is about the percentage of votes that we get. And Volta region, when it comes to NDC's results in the presidential, Volta region is always the highest. And that is why it has earned the name the World Bank. Now, in 2020, if you look at the results we got in Volta region, we got above 84%. If you look at the 84%, it is not the highest we have gotten, because in Rawlings' time, MPP used to get single digit in Volta region. In 2020, they have climbed and climbed and climbed, and in 2020 they got 14%. And so it means that they are making inroads into the Volta region. Now, what do? They use propaganda, and they come and tell you that you vote for NDC all the time, and yet NDC has done nothing for you. You see, the van that carries money from bank to bank, when bank needs money, they put the money in a van and they take it to the bank. Those, they call them bullion vans. Those bullion vans were in Asenof, and they were packed with 200 CD notes. 200 CD notes. And I went to Asenof myself. And anybody who was going to vote 200 CDs, 200 CDs, 200 CDs, 200 CDs, 200 CDs. And we told the people, we said, look, at first the people were afraid. They say if you chop the money and you don't vote for them, Kwele Kweji will catch you. And we told the people, if somebody steals your money and the person brings your money back to you, there's no Kwele Kweji matter in this one. And so collect the money and chop it.
Therefore, Guswa NDC amanyoko no akache na Frank Crawford ma NDC amanyoko no mampanyi dada John Dramani Mahama aba bontia abechire die ntia wo kire se na ban ebema tertiary education analysis ya pomu kro adesuafo a eko ne de edikan kra first year for no ebeye free ama won ma wo kire se eduru sa abre na ya na ede ahokire kese abeto awofo so enti owofo a wantumi amwa no honye sika no behu se na abofra atene fie sa ne omen ene opese otwa so enti ode san hyehye eba.
You know, there are many cases where I've seen students who have been offered admission, but who have not been able to take their places in university because their families simply cannot afford to pay the fees. There was a case of a medical student in Upper East region who was working on the farm. He had passed with A's or throughout, and he was called to medical school. But he was on the farm with his parents and couldn't go to take up his admission because he couldn't afford the fees. There are many other students like that. You think 2,500 cedis or something is small. For some families to be able to put 2,500 cedis together is a real struggle. And so we don't want, especially in the first year, when the students are coming in for the first time, for them to go through what we call fee stress. And that's why we call it a no fee stress policy. And so we're saying that we can absorb the academic facilitator fees, but it will not affect the subventions of government to the universities and institutions of higher learning. The subvention from government has kept declining. We're going to increase the subvention, but apart from that, we're going to make sure that the university gets their subvention on time so that they can balance their budgets. And we've costed it. And we approximate that for all first-year students in public tertiary institutions, it should cost anywhere between 270 to about 209 cedis. Let me tell you something. The president, a few years ago, his travel budget for traveling in 9 months amounted to 69 million Ghana cedis. They held one cabinet retreat at the presidency, one cabinet retreat. You know how much it cost? It cost almost 5 million Ghana cedis for a cabinet retreat. There is so much waste in the system. And even if you look at the Office of President budget alone, you'll be able to cut to raise enough money to pay fees, academic facility user fees for all level 100 students. Because that thing you see there, when you go to Accra, the building, is called the Office of the President. You know the budget, 2 billion cedis every year. 2 billion cedis. It's even now that IMF has come, they've cut it down. At a point, it used to be 3-point-something billion cedis every year. Fee stress of our students who are coming first year into university, I think that it can be done. And it is constitutional. Because let me read the constitutional provision to you. Just the same way free SHS was done. It says here in Article 25 of the 1992 Constitution, it says that higher education shall be made equally accessible to all on the basis of capacity by any appropriate means, and in particular by progressive introduction of free education at the tertiary level. It's here. It's in the Constitution. So just absorbing those fees, I think that we can do it by cutting down on waste and cutting down on corruption. We spent $58 million to dig a pit, the most expensive pit in the world. $58 million could have more than paid the fees of all first years. And so it can be done, and we'll do it.
Afia Yanko NPP Amanyokuo no emwe Franke Crawford be de chirema NPP Amanyokuo no Dr. Matthew Poku Prempenapo ene obanemrane wo de atudwa say mpuntudwuma NPP Amanyokuo no aye e wa atoye mantemo no kosa bia ni hu no obi anso ni wo betimi agina baabi ebusa asem ewo ho.
Nobody 12 years. I started 3 years ago. Nobody 12 years. How long? 2016. Only 8 years from one. What is it? 20 years. So say, all the other years in the media form. I am next year this Friday night. And you don't do the home so long. And you don't know what's happening. They will say that an African has some, and they did show one. And the woman has some about for it. And the collaborating the one. And he said, oh, I want to talk about. Woman, really, when we took our program, say, the man, no, when we try. I said that they're going to now, whatever you're supposed to be of what
Afia Brempomaa Hineh Ctv Kasiepo. Nano Public Account Committee asetena okoye no University of Vice Chancellor Professor Johnson Nyakombo Mpompiase na eho ene be todwase no kwe said the na montre so say appointment letter ya na say krata chese dibre ya je efre ni nsem no abeka ne nsam pa wode eto empanyifo animu se no kre ne nsa kakrata bisa ya chese adwuma na nka oye se vice chancellor Emma Suapon no ya je efre ni nsem.
As far as the ministry is concerned, my minister is not. I'm standing in for him. With respect, I would suggest that this matter is not put on this platform. There is the Select Committee on Education, and I think that the appropriate forum should be the committee summoning the minister for the minister to provide responses. With all due respect, Mr. Chair, this will be my position on the matter. Thank you.
Chairman, Honorable Deputy Minister asked a question, actually consulted me, and I've granted the permission for him to ask. My reason is that this is something which is already in the public domain. It's out there in the media being discussed. This is an opportunity for the ministry or for the university to say something about it. If you want to miss this opportunity and for it to be discussed further in the media, that can provide some damage to somebody.
Mr. Chair,
okay.
I trust your judgment, and I know the experience you have when it comes to parliamentary work. Since I've been in this house, some of these issues, before they are discussed, and as you said, it's the public domain. Parliamentary parties, as I know, the person to respond at least must be given some space to come with further and better particulars. I'm standing in for the minister who is outside the jurisdiction. I'm not clothed with the power to effectively deal with the matters. That's why I'm pleading with Commander Park, my former colleague on the Education Committee of the House, that this can be played before the minister, and he will be able to provide all the information that he needs. So with respect, let us follow this part. Thank you.
All right. Probably you don't have the information on this, so I can spare you on that by saying that because you don't have the requisite information, it will be difficult for you to respond to this matter on what the ministry is doing in resolving this matter. But can the Vice Chancellor confirm to us that the board chairman wrote a letter directing the VC to resign? University Council, the Council Chair, has written to the Vice Chancellor to resign. Is that factual? This one is going to the VC. Is it factual that the Council Chair has written to you to resign?
Honorable Chair, it's a fact.
All right.
Afia Brempomaa Hineh ensemwe. United Nations amansan nyina kabomuko ede abeto dwose Central Africa and East Africa and West Africa ensio amanimu so ama edin abasa aman so a sabra ye kasai amani pampemampem ena won ho akere won.
The Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs is concerned about flooding in the region, which has already affected hundreds of thousands of people. Just 2 months into the rainy season, torrential rains and severe flooding have impacted more than 700,000 people in the Central African Republic, Chad, Côte d'Ivoire, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Liberia, Niger, Nigeria, Mali, and Togo. The UN and our partners are supporting the responses by governments of the region, including with the distribution of food, shelter, and water and sanitation assistance. This year, the Central Emergency Response Fund allocated $10 million to Congo, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Niger to respond to emergencies related to climate shocks, including floods.
Afia Brempomaa Hineh ama Afia Brempomaa Kasiepo ya medesum wo no mede nyina nsie twa no ho e wo Ctv so ya desum wo no emu no nnwuma so abefo ntentafidie no so ya desum wo my Ctv GH social media handles ahodo no say ya YouTube, Facebook ya desum wo ma Kasiepo yi ho akwanya enya bi ehwe yeda se empanyifo a echinchim fidie no efru ma wameka ne omabo ani ma Kasie di mo Yama momo piafo mo kenkanfo awie ye me Afia Brempomaa Hineh nyame ya domo abrepem e besan ehia na so sabrede abusua yedinkra.